Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I hope you're well. I hope you're having an amazing day. It's Friday, and I hope you're starting your weekend off great. Of course, I think for me, it's nonstop around here. Like the weekend is just different work. Um, but I still work. So maybe it's something different for you. Who am I? I am Dr. Tammy, success strategist, literacy educator, author, and speaker. I help you move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And that's what we're talking about today, this journey toward more. So you have just entered another episode of Journey Toward More. And today we are interviewing another author from the book that's in the book, Reading as a Social Action, Women Aspiring for More. And for those of you, if this is your first time joining me for one of these episodes where I'm interviewing the authors, this is a collaborative project where several of the authors in here were a part and are a part of my Women Aspiring for More global online reading community. And they were really leaders in that community. They would go live, they would share their perspectives on the different books we read in that community. And we typically read nonfiction text, and we read those things within that community because that's my thing. And I'm always about personal and professional growth. So I know there's a lot of book clubs out there that read fiction. My book club was nonfiction. And so we read things for motivation, inspiration, self-help, maybe even some things around financial literacy. We've had books that covered a wide range of topics and addressed the different needs of the women within that community. Some were even health and fitness related. We did some of everything and read some of everything in there. And so we had some amazing discussions. And I decided a year into that, having that group and running that community, to invite the ladies to share their stories. I thought we should capture the stories and capture what we were doing to share it with those around the world, because what we were doing in that community was really private. It was intimate. It was just a small community of about 200 women, and we just share it within that community. And I thought this would be a way for us to share it to the world and share it with you. So we have captured some of their stories, some of their experiences around reading as a social action, reading in a community. And so I like to share those stories with you. So if you missed some of the previous episodes or broadcasts, go back wherever you're watching this today. You can find it, just scroll or click on the actual page and you should be able to find it. And today I'm interviewing and talking with Ruth-Ellen. And I'm going to bring her on so she can talk about her chapter, her writing process, what it was like for her to contribute to this, write her particular chapter and contribute to this particular book. And we're just going to get into it. And I think with her chapter, you're actually going to learn something about yourself in hearing her story, because I think that there are things that we have known over time as different things. And now, as we're learning in education and research, we're learning more about what things are and how to approach them appropriately and how to address them. And I think that understanding people and really thinking about inclusion and being inclusive, that is really important. So I can't wait for you to read her, to hear more about her chapter and read it in the book. You gotta get the book. So anyway, so I'm going to bring her on and we're just going to have a conversation. If you're joining us, please tell us hello in the comments, where you're joining us from. If you have any questions or you have any comments, please throw them on there. Throw them in the comments so that way we can see them. We'd love to interact with you. All right, Ruth-Ellen, let's do this. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for
Hello.
joining on the replay or live. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing a little bit about your part in this project. And thank you for your yes. Thank you for saying yes and stepping out on faith. And this has really been a really big yes of a project. It was going to be a small yes, but it turned out to be a big yes. Between life, pandemic, and all sorts of things happening, we have finally ended up here. And so before we get into your chapter and talking about your chapter, I want you to just tell the folks who you are and what you do.
So, hi, my name is Ruth-Ellen. If you've not seen me before, I generally speak around inclusion and diversity and belonging and connection. And I'm neurodivergent, which basically means I identify as a person that has dyslexia, dyspraxia, co-occurring traits of ADHD and autism as well. And that means that I decode things differently. That means I process information differently, but just differently, not any less, not any more. Just have a profile, which means that I sometimes speak a bit fast, but also have a strategic mindset as well, which helps me in business and other areas of life too.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And y'all know I was going to ask her that, and she explained it so well. Thank you so much for explaining that. Because her chapter, I don't know if you saw it as we were coming in, so I'll just pop it up there now, is reading aloud when you're neurodivergent. And so it's really important that we talk about the term so you know the relevance it has for and the importance it has for her contribution, because it and her chapter, but you got to read her chapter to know more about that part. But so let's talk about your chapter just a little bit. How did you decide what to include? Because we talked about a lot in that group. We read so many books. We read at least a book a month. And so even at that point that we started this project, it was probably at least 12 to 15 books we had already read together. So how did you decide what to include in your chapter?
Um, excuse me. I think it's a combination of what books really gave me that transformational edge.
Mm.
Um, and so there's so much of our stories, right? And oftentimes we're like, oh, I need to share all of it. And I think just realistically, I was like, okay, but what is it that if I was to leave this chapter as is would help somebody else um, to get what I was saying, to feel like they could relate? And I thought it was really important for me to do that through the lens of being neurodivergent. And so that just
Mm.
had to be all encompassing within my chapter. Um, and so even though it's not every sentence you're going to read that's going to say neurodivergent, but it's literally my lens and my interpretation of reading from my perspective, with all the great strengths and challenges that come with it out loud, just had to be in there. And that foundation wise was really important.
Yeah, I love that. So what made you say yes? So what made you say, okay, I've had all these experiences, I've done all these things, and you're talking about your chapter, but I guess I should have asked first, but what made you say yes? That I'm going to write those things in this chapter. I'm going to write a chapter.
Community. It comes
Uh,
back down to community. It comes back down to there are some people in the space that I feel safe to be seen and heard and valued. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't probably have done it, right? Because we often share when we feel safe, when we feel safe enough to just be ourselves. And there are so many spaces in our society where that's not always true. It's getting better, but let's face it, when we find spaces like that, that is when you can just be yourself, you can unmask, you can just be like unapologetically yourself. And so I felt yes for me was like yes, because not only did I get to show up in this space, but you allowed me to show up as well.
Ruth Ellen, don't make me cry. I love hearing that because, and I think, um, you know, because that's one of the goals of the spaces that I create is that it is safe and that you can share and be who you are. So that way we can really do the work, right? So you can get down to the work that you need to do, whatever that is. And it's different for everyone. But I think you can't do that if you're always guarded and you have that up. So that makes me happy to hear that at least I successfully did that in a way that you feel one comfortable to share in my community and that you felt okay to even share with the world because that's what the book will do, right? We'll share some of that we've experienced together with the world. So we have a few people here, so I'm going to put those up before we go to the next question. Hello, Janice, Mommy in Color. Oh, the Periscope days, Perry girls. Hello. And then Shantae's here. Hello. Thank you, Shantae. Shantae's always inviting and sharing. So thank you,
Lovely.
Shantae.
Thank you.
You mentioned reading, yes, and you show up. Thank you, yes. And you have to read with us. You have to read with us. So yes. So thank you all for joining us and being here. So let's talk about the actual process. So because we're talking about you, being neurodivergent, what was your writing process? What was that like for you? Did you do an outline? Did you just sit and write? Or what is it in general? And then what was it like for this particular chapter? So you can take it from either way because you may have the same style for everything that you do. But what is your particular writing style as process of getting from the idea to the actual product?
So for me, I've always had a challenge with knowing where to start. So I
Mm.
just start where I'm at, and then everything else kind of gets cut and pasted into the right way. Sometimes I'm starting at the end and then doing the middle and then doing the beginning. So there is no linear process for me, but I always find that when I overthink writing, I generally don't do it, right? So I
Mhm.
give myself some compassion in that area and say, well, if I was to start imperfectly, what would that look like?
Mm.
And then I just allow myself to flow. Sometimes I riff, sometimes I just speak it out, and I use some of the software to take the speech and turn it into text. But
Ooh.
oftentimes, yeah, so there's so much great things to use, but sometimes I need some inspiration, and so I might use an AI writer for just to keep my brain going, or even a mind map to help me as well. So there's no one set way. It's almost like let's try all these different ways and see which one feels good. But generally, when I'm in a great space mentally, like I've had my dance like no one else is watching type moment, um, I'm able to just let it flow. But I've always got something to say. The only time when I'm blocked when writing is when I'm overthinking it and thinking how it should look like rather than what I want to say.
Okay, so she's gonna be like, Tammy, stop. Because I think what you said is really key here because you talked about some of the tools that you use and sometimes use for writing. And let me just be honest, Ruth-Ellen, like I know you are a techie. You know a lot of tech tools. I know that just from our history together. The one thing that I finally had to tap into for, because I do a lot of classes and audio. And so I was like, how can I turn I want to capture what I said. It was really good, and to do it when you're writing. I'm old school writer. Like I usually sit down and just write. But I was thinking, oh, I want to capture that. And then I was like, wait a minute. I think Microsoft Word has something like that. It turn what I've spoken, I can turn it into text. Of course, then you have to clean it up and all that good stuff. You have to edit, but at least capture the main ideas. And I was thinking, so I am just getting there. I just did that, what, 2 weeks ago? Even though I've known it's been available for a while, I've been one of the old school people that just kind of sit down, and I'm one to just sit and write. I usually don't do an outline unless I'm really doing something lengthy like a book, but otherwise I usually just kind of just write. So that's really cool. So I'm glad you mentioned some of those tools, and for those who are here that may be able to benefit from them, because they come in handy.
Yeah,
They help a lot.
tech is beautiful. Tech just it's for me. I find it to be my best friend. Like there's so much different ways for you to utilize technology to
Mhm.
fill in that gap when you don't maybe have a person that can proofread
Mhm.
for you on off the cuff or look over some of the work. The Grammarly and everything else in between is just really helpful, and it stops you feeling like you have to have all of the tools to achieve what you want to achieve. You get to borrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Thank you for mentioning that. I know that it's going to help somebody because it's helped me in the last 2 weeks. So, okay, so we're talking about writing your chapter. We're talking about those things that you use to kind of get you there that you have used before and or with the chapter. But in our community was women. It was a community of women, all ages, pretty much from, young adult, 18 and above was the community. And so we had a wide range of women who were wanting to move to the next level. Or it was that who you had in mind when you were writing, or did you have a different audience in mind when you were writing because you knew it was going to be something beyond our community? Who did you have in mind as you were writing? Did you have a particular audience, or did you just write because it was more reflective for you?
I think it was much more of the reflective piece, right? It was almost this, hey, I got to be in this really great community where I'm able to share my perspective on certain books. Um, and it's funny because I started doing it as a reflection piece, and then it turned into something else because I've got a son who has autism, and it was almost like this piece of offering as well, like, hey, this is my insights on why when you might read out loud, you might feel away, you might not feel so confident in certain aspects, and so I think it started off like, oh, I want to reflect, have a reflective practice, and then it just turned into this. Actually, this is some of the things that might be helpful for you as well. Borrow my shortcut. Don't feel like you have to be in suffering mode type thing.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And so Janice is saying, "Mommy in color, love to hear the backstory to a book." Oh, that's cool. Hello, Nina. How's it going? um, the book coach. There she is. Thank you so much for joining us. So we've talked about the book. We talked about the chapter. We talked about the audience. So if there was anything that you wanted to share, any advice, any nuggets that you want to share with those who are aspiring for more, men or women, aspiring for more or wanting to move in that direction of more and whatever's next, their goals, tackling that. What would you share with them? What would you say? And it could be from one of the books we've read. It could be just in general, something you've learned just in, just living. But what is that one thing that you can share with the audience to inspire and encourage?
I would say get into community,
Mhm.
find a community that allows you to show up as yourself. Now, I've jumped into community sometimes and I've had to kind of come back and out of them because of different life things. But knowing that when you're in a community of people that accept you, and you're able to show up fully, it just makes things so much easier. And for those of us out there who think, well, I'm doing this by myself, it's very hard. Like, pause that thought process and recognize, actually, there's a community out there for me. There's a community out there
Mhm.
that accepts me for who I am wholeheartedly. And I'd say whenever you do feel like you're having to do this all by yourself, stop that chitter chatter and pick up a book and start from there, because even that is a great tool for connection. There's somebody out there that's speaking directly to you. They've written a book for you, to inspire you and to help you aspire for more.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you talk about community not only as in a group, but also community can be those things that you connect with, which could be a book. Your community is whatever you consider that community to be, and I think that giving yourself permission to be a part of that community and actively participate as a part of that community and not is okay as well, and giving yourself permission to engage with that community at a level that's comfortable for you. So I really love that. I love that. That's my takeaway from this one, so I love that. So, okay. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about whether it's encouragement about the book or anything, any final thoughts about what we've discussed so far today?
There's so much, but you could probably tell by my throat. I just, like, I can't do it. But I think For me, I think it's just having the have belief in yourself, right? I know that sometimes when um, we have challenges with the way that we perceive ourselves and the way we think others are perceiving us, it can stop us from showing up as our full selves. It can stop us from um, feeling like we've got enough, we are enough. And so remember that there are times when you're just gonna feel not so great, and there are times when you're gonna feel on top of the world. And some of us get emotionally dysregulated because of the way that our neurodivergence shows up for us. And so I just want to encourage you to have that support network, whatever that looks like for you. Um, and don't feel like you have to do this alone, because there is such a strength in connection, and sometimes
Mhm.
we can feel disconnected.
Yes.
Um, and that disconnection causes us to suffer. And so you can honor the struggle, honor that, it can be hard to reach out, but don't honor the suffering.
Mm.
Recognize that the suffering is a sign of disconnection, and you can connect as much or as little as you need to. But that really is the key to making that impact that you probably want to make, and changing lives that you probably want to change as well. Um, and so there's greatness within you, and oftentimes people have not always seen that, and that has made you probably not see that in yourself.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
just to recognize that that light within will only expand when you allow yourself to be seen.
Oh, I love that. Honor the struggle, but not the suffering. Oh, I love that. Tell you little nuggets. I'm telling you, y'all should be tweeting or something because there's some tweetables in here. That if I was a distracted host, I would be doing myself. But there are definitely some nuggets in here. So thank you, Ruth Ellen, for that. So, how can we get the book from you? Those in your community who want to, who's a part of your community and they want to connect with you or get the book from you directly from you, how do they do that?
There'll be a link on to the da just below, and you can literally just go to that website and you can pre-order, and then when it is finally out as well, you can also order too. Really simple way to do it on the website, probably the easiest way. Have your details, and then as soon as it's released, you will have it there delivered via post. So that's probably the best way. It's a really great book full of amazing stories from amazing women. So do grab your copy um, to help spread the good news, basically.
Yeah, I love it. I had to change the link so it's all together. There it is, all together. Looks a little better that way. And it is $20 pre-sale currently right now. So you can definitely get a little discount if you get it before May 2nd. So definitely go to her website and check it out and grab your copy. Grab your copy. So, Ruth Ellen, what are you working on? Tell us about some of the things that you're doing now because it's been a minute. I know we've talked more recently because of this particular project, but really catch us up and me up on what it is you're doing these days. What are some current projects or some of the personal things you're working on with our community?
Okay, so there's so much, right? So at the moment, I am a part of a team that is delivering um, entrepreneurship programs for disabled individuals. And so our program is running for 12 weeks and for 8 weeks. 8 weeks are for Black and Brown community, 12 weeks are for all. And so that's one of the projects. We're taking them through a series of panel discussions and things like that to help them with entrepreneurship as disabled individuals. Um, I'm also an author of a book called The Rejection Sensitivity Journal for ADHD. So you can get that on Amazon as well. And the journal basically helps you to heal through rejection. It's got meditation and hypnotherapy in there, which I'm all sort of accredited in. That will help you to really unmask that, so some of those lies, right, that have got you shackled. Um, I also deliver coaching and training and neurodiversity from a lived experience perspective, helping those that really have um, goals to achieve in the area of their greatness. Basically, I believe that labels for jars are not for people, but I also believe that we should all be celebrated and not just tolerated. So a lot of my
Mm.
work is around that, helping you to see yourself. And one of my programs is called Unapologetically Visible. And it's a program that helps you to recognize who you are, um, to be seen in the most easiest way, and to do some of that shadow work that we all need from time to time to really heal those wounds. So I've been busy. Um,
You have been busy. You are busy. Like I'm just hearing the things that you have going on and books and everything. Like amazing, amazing. So amazing. So y'all definitely connect with her. Make sure you touch base with her, especially you have questions around the things that we discussed today. That's a part of her wheelhouse. That's a part of her expertise because she can definitely help you out and or at least give you the resources you need to move you in the direction of more. So any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
no, just to thank you, Dr. Tammy, for all of the tenacity that you've put into this book, and the great community that you've cultivated and created, and your mission to help us to all connect with each other, and to use reading as a social action. I think it's just an amazing space you've created, and the fact that you've just got this really great aura about you when it comes to this work, and I really appreciate the amount of work you put to this, and just in generally everything you do, to be honest. Um, so yeah, thank you so much. I don't get to say it often enough, and I definitely should, but I just appreciate the way that you have shown up for not only us in the community but yourself as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it means a lot coming from you because I know that we haven't talked about that part of what you do and energy work and things. So that means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and I appreciate you allowing me to hang out with you and sharing what you know because I will say y'all like Ruth Ellen has really blessed the community in a way that I cannot even describe, like going live and just sharing all the things that she knows, and even offering some of the books that we read were some that she recommended and or she was reading. And so we read the manifesto. I forget the whole title, but we
The,
read
the,
some of those. You because you probably know it. I just know I
yeah,
remember
no,
that part of it.
the Motivation Manifesto, Brendan Burchard. If you're trying to look for a
Yeah.
book that will help you to, after you obviously you buy the one that we're talking about here,
Yes.
um, it's a great way for you to really get your values aligned. And I think when we're talking about this work, the work we do, what we put out in the world, this is about values, what we value and what we want to contribute, not just consume.
Yes, I love that. Love that. See, all these tweetables. What, right? I love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to go back and tweet some things later. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all for joining us and being here and being a part of the community. You see her link down there. Go to the link, purchase your copy. Also connect with her. If you have any questions, you have anything that you want us to reply to or clarify, you can definitely do that in the comments. We'll definitely be watching the replay and coming back later and checking it out and responding and answering any questions that come up in the chat. And if you're on the replay, make sure you say hello to us. Tell us who you are, where you're joining from, and just drop an emoji, something, so we know that you stopped by. We appreciate you all for joining us. We appreciate y'all being here. Make sure you get the book, Reading as a Social Action, Women Aspiring for More. And it is out May 1st. Until then, it is on pre-sale for $20. Get it Get it now and grab your copy. I can't wait for you to get it in your hands and read all the stories in here. Amazing. And it's not only going to be inspirational, but it's also educational, I think. So I love it. So I can't wait for you to grab your copy. So grab your copy and we'll see you soon. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend, a great day, a great week, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, whatever's going on when you're watching this. Have an amazing day.